set, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sound of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about 50 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Von Austin.
The Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride!
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night!
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another live stream here on the Country Roads webcast, and here today to recap National Signing Day here, 2026 version for the West Virginia Mountaineers, and honestly, we're going to be talking about one of the best WVU football recruiting classes of all time, certainly one of the largest, plenty of surprises, multiple 4-stars, multiple impressive flips from West Virginia. The list goes on, and we're going to talk all about it here on this live stream. Appreciate you guys tuning into this one. If you're in here live, be sure, if you got any questions, comments, throw them in there in the chat. I'll try and hit some of those here towards the end of the stream. Foolproof way to get your comment read there. Send it as a super chat, and we appreciate that. Just like we appreciate our channel members that help keep this mic recording and that camera rolling, rather. And of course, if you're in here, whether you're watching on Facebook or Twitch, which we appreciate, be sure to come over to the YouTube channel, subscribe here so you can get access to our pre-recorded videos and podcast episodes in addition to these live streams. And those of you that are watching on YouTube, you can help us out whether you're watching live or on a playback by hitting that thumbs up button, which helps out a ton with that YouTube algorithm. Being sure you're subscribed to the channel, get these videos directly into your feed as we'll continue to cover the WVU football roster ahead of the 2026 season as they continue to build it and build it in a big way. Did West Virginia today. 45 commits from high school or JUCO today for West Virginia. One of the largest WVU football recruiting classes of all time and one of the highest rated WVU football recruiting classes of all time. And we're going to talk about each commit in that class. But before we do, let's go ahead. Let's dive in by taking a look at the rankings here. We'll take a look at Rivals ranking, 247's ranking, as well as where West Virginia ranks within their own conference, which I think you'll be impressed by all of these. Let's start here on Rivals. Rivals on 3, whatever you want to call it nowadays, where you can see West Virginia is in 23rd currently on Rivals, what's subject to change, always, of course, but right now at the time that we're doing the live stream, a top 25 class for West Virginia, which is pretty unprecedented for the Mountaineers and certainly unprecedented for quite a while. This recruiting class is the highest rated for West Virginia since Rich Rod's last time he was at WVU. The last class Rich Rod had was the highest rated up until now. So West Virginia doing an absolutely phenomenal job. Top 23 there on Rivals. Let's go here to 247, see where they rank the Mountaineers as well. And we're going to talk about all of the commits, and there are some super exciting ones here in this class to talk about. We go here on 247, and we see not far behind either, right around the similar rating, 25th on 247. So either service you look at right now, West Virginia is dealing with a top 25 recruiting class, which is extremely impressive for the Mountaineers and the highest, like I said, in quite some time at WVU. And if that doesn't impress you enough, how about where West Virginia sits in the conference? Because we know there's a couple of teams playing for the Big 12 title game this week, right? We got Texas Tech and BYU matching up for that. Well, guess who's right behind them in recruiting rankings? Texas Tech number 1, as to be expected. BYU number 2, but your West Virginia Mountaineers, 3rd best recruiting class in the Big 12. Just absolutely phenomenal job here from this coaching staff. And let's talk a little bit about some of the players that they brought in here. We're going to just go ahead and go over to the WVUsports.com signing day site here. I'm going to run through it piece by piece, starting with safety Jayden Ballard, who committed to the Mountaineers early this morning. West Virginia doing a phenomenal job on this class early. I think they had 26 commitments before 9 a.m. So excellent job by West Virginia here in this 2026 class. Of course, Jayden Ballard, a 6 foot, 180-pound safety from Manchester High School in Chesterfield, Virginia. Also ran track. Let's see here some of his ratings. 3-star prospect rating by ESPN, 247 Sports, and Rivals. He was the number 27 best player in Virginia, so a top 30 player in the state of Virginia there, and a top 100 safety according to ESPN. Top 25 in Virginia, and top 104 safety according to 247. Then Rivals, of course, ranked him as the number 56 player in Virginia and the number 204 safety nationally. Had 19 offers going across here for Jayden Ballard. And we'll also take a look at a few plays of each of these players, as West Virginia has shared those as well on the WVU Sports channel. So let's take a look here at Jayden Ballard. You see him there highlighted on the tape there, number 5, coming off the edge. And look at that blitz right there, man. That's nice. You can bring that nickel blitz at West Virginia all the time right there. Maybe he could play that nickel position. And there he is blowing up a screenplay. Look at the hard hit there. You know, West Virginia faces some screenplays like that, so seeing a guy attack those is big. Here he is in coverage this time, locking down a man there in the end zone. Here he is on the edge yet again. And he seals that edge and shuts down a run play with a perfectly formed tackle there as well for Jayden Ballard. And just where he's lining up here, I could definitely see him playing that nickel spot at WVU. There he is coming off the edge, providing a quarterback pressure, hitting the quarterback as he tries to get rid of the football and is unable to, with Jayden Ballard coming in, bearing down on him. So great pickup for West Virginia at the safety position with Jayden Ballard. Let's go to our next one that we want to talk about here. 45 guys to talk about, so we're going to try and breeze through these guys. But like I said, I'll try and get to some of y'all's comments at the end of the stream as well. We're going to talk about LaMarcus Dillard, who's listed as a guard for West Virginia here in this 2026 class. 6'2", 290, out of Landover, Maryland, coming from St. Francis Academy. We look at some of his ratings here. 3-star prospect per ESPN, 247, and Rivals. ESPN rated him as the number 5 offensive center nationally. That's big. Number 23 prospect in Maryland, so a top 25 prospect in the state of Maryland according to ESPN, who also ranked him as the number 97 prospect in the region. We go to 247. They rank him as the 34th best prospect in Maryland, a top 105 inside offensive lineman, and he also earned a top 30 rating in the state of Maryland and a top 112 interior offensive lineman ranking there from Rivals, offered by plenty of other schools, mostly from the Power 5 ranks, including Pittsburgh, Marshall, UCF, Maryland, Miami, Syracuse, VT, Boston College, among others. Let's take a look at a couple of plays here from Mr. LaMarcus Dillard, as West Virginia has shared some of those as well. Taking a look at LaMarcus Dillard here. There he is on the interior, absolutely sealing that hole for his running back to break through for a big gain. Great job there from LaMarcus Dillard. Here you see him again lined up at left guard on this play. And look at that, man. No match for LaMarcus Dillard. Not only does he hold him off, but a little pancake there at the end as well. There he is again, absolutely mauling a guy, breaking his running back free for a long touchdown run. As you can see, playing primarily left guard here on these highlights. But time and time again, springing his running back for big gains, which is what we love to see at WVU. Here he is in pass protection. Nobody there, so he said, I'll go ahead and chip this guy, maul him. Another pancake there for LaMarcus Dillard. Love to see that there from the West Virginia offensive lineman that has come into the fold now. as we talk about Jayden Ballard, we talk about LaMarcus, Dillard, and we're going to go ahead and hit another offensive lineman here now as well. And this is one of my favorites in the class. You guys have heard me rave about him as we've gone through and talk about the commits, and that is none other than Camden Goforth. I call him the Pancake Man. Dude is an absolute mauler, listed as a guard yet again here on signing day for WVU. But this guy, man, if you've seen his tape before, you know how big of a mauler that he is. 6'4", 321 pounds, coming in as a freshman, guys. I'm telling you, this guy's a future star, in my opinion, from McMinn County High School there in Athens, Tennessee. Look at some of his ratings here. Only a 3-star recruit from ESPN 247 Arrivals, but extremely underrated, in my opinion. A top 30 player in the state of Tennessee, a top 60 offensive guard nationally, according to ESPN 247, rated him as a top 40 player in Tennessee and a top 140 interior offensive lineman. And then Rivals rated him as a top 50 prospect in Tennessee and a top 114 interior offensive lineman, offered by plenty of other Power 5 schools, including Tennessee, Memphis, Tulane, NC State, to name a few there for Camden Goforth. But what's most impressive about Mr. Goforth is probably seeing him on film. I call him the Pancake Man for a reason. This guy just absolutely blasts defensive linemen and anyone that comes into his path. Let's take a look here at the video West Virginia shared. Here you see him at right guard, pulling left on this first play. Immediate pancake, breaking his man free for a touchdown. Here he is again. Another pancake there, this time in pass pro, and an easy win for Camden Goforth. Look at him here in run block. He just drove this guy 20 yards down the field and pancaked him. I mean, I love Camden Goforth, guys. Look at that. He's just dominating everyone that he went up against at the high school level, and we hope that continues here at the college level. He has, the hard edge mentality just as much as any other commit West Virginia brought in this class. I've loved Camden Goforth for a long time, and that continues here. As you see, another pancake there, and continues it to the end of the play for Mr. Goforth, who we're really glad to see West Virginia add in this 2026 class as they continue to, bring in impressive players here as we talk about one of the most impressive recruiting classes in WVU football history. Let's move on here to the next player to talk about, and that would be none other than Charlie Hanafin at the wide receiver spot. West Virginia bringing in multiple wide receivers. Charlie Hanafin, one of those who really showed out at a camp. That's when he scored his offer from WVU, and it pays off on signing days. He signs with the Mountaineers as a 6', 181-pound freshman from Dexter Southfield High School there in Burlington, Massachusetts. We look at some of his ratings here. 3-star ranking as well. ESPN 247 and Rivals all agree on that. He was a top 16 player in Massachusetts, according to ESPN and Rivals. 247 ranks him as the number 13 recruit in Massachusetts. So either service you look at here, we're talking about nearly a top 15 recruit in the state of Massachusetts. His brother currently plays defensive back at Clemson, and he has another brother playing quarterback at Boston College. So look at the lineage there. Ton of Power Conference football players, and he was also offered by Boston College, among other schools. But like I said, he really stood out at a camp for WVU. And let's take a look at a few of his highlight plays here on the film that West Virginia shared here on National Signing Day as we take a look at Charlie Hanafin. There he is there. Top side of your screen. Catches a little hitch route, and look at him make hay with that thing, man. Making people miss and coming all the way across the field. You see the athleticism. You see the speed. Of course, speed was a priority for WVU in this recruiting class. Hanafin brings the speed and athleticism. There he is again, catching another hitch route, pushing a guy forwards about 5 yards, spinning off that hit, and then outracing everyone to the end zone. Here he is again, top of your screen, short side of the field. This time fakes a hitch route, beautifully ran double move, wide open for a touchdown is Charlie Hanafin. As you can see, West Virginia adding a wide receiver that hopefully should help them in future years to come with his athleticism and his playmaking ability when we take a look there at Charlie Hanafin. But we talk about West Virginia adding multiple receivers in this class, and we're going to go ahead and talk about another one of those, and this guy is one of those speedsters. We talked about speed being a priority for West Virginia in this class. And you guys know back when I first talked about the commit of Robert Oliver, that speed is what he brought to West Virginia's wide receiver position, certainly. So let's take a look here at Robert Oliver as he signs on the dotted line here today on National Signing Day. And as we look a little bit more length, 6'2", 180. He's out of Niceville, Florida, his original hometown, Tucson, Arizona, but had played high school there in Florida. And you look, let's say 40 time of 4.38. West Virginia has multiple 4-3 guys in this recruiting class that we're going to talk about. And he also has a bench of 275, a deadlift of 455, and a broad jump of over 10 feet, a vertical jump of over 40 inches. Extremely athletic player here in Robert Oliver. 3-star recruit according to ESPN 247 and Rivals. A top 150 player in the state of Florida and a top 211 wide receiver nationally according to 247 Sports. Offered by multiple power conference programs, Kansas State, Kentucky, Maryland, Michigan State, just to name a few there. But, of course, signs with the Mountaineers here today on signing day. And let's take a look at a couple of highlight plays here from Robert Oliver as shared by WVU. As we see him here, lined up in the slot for for his high school team there. Look at the catch, another quick hitch, makes a man miss, and there you see the speed that I'm talking about there with Robert Oliver, be able to house that thing. Here he is again lined up in the slot. We'll see if he ends up playing there at WVU, if he's more of an outside guy. Look at that double move. Fake the corner route, run a post route all the way down to the 1-yard line. Absolutely cook. Look at this, isolated on the wide side of the field all by himself, and he really gets a chance to showcase that speed, and it looked like the man that was guarding him was standing still. You love to see that from Robert Oliver. Here he is again one more time. Quick out route. Nice catch there. So you see a little bit of the route running and the hands there on that one from Robert Oliver as we talk about another wide receiver that committed to the Mountaineers. With that being said, let's flip over to the defensive side here. Let's talk about a linebacker the West Virginia added in this class as well. We're talking a little bit about Antoine Sharp, an early commit for West Virginia that stays committed and signs with the Mountaineers here on signing day. So Antoine Sharp, 6 foot, 208-pound linebacker currently. Got to expect he's going to add more size. From Palm Beach Central High School in West Palm Beach, Florida. Funny enough, that's my mom's hometown, actually. She may be familiar with Palm Beach Central High School. I'll have to ask her about that one. But Antoine Sharp Jr., as we can see, 3-star prospect on ESPN 247 and Rivals. ESPN rates him as a top 36 linebacker and a top 124 player in the state of Florida. 247 has him as a top 100 linebacker and the number 122 player in the state of Florida. So you're looking there top 120 by ESPN and 247, and Rivals not far behind. They rate him as the 136th linebacker in the class and a top 175 player in the state of Florida. His father, Antoine Sharp Sr., played wide receiver for Florida before transferring to play cornerback at Louisville. So there's a little bit of the lineage and athleticism that he has. A father that played both wide receiver and corner in college at 2 power conference programs. He's also been a coach since then. He was offered by multiple Power 5 programs, including Florida State, Indiana, Maryland, Missouri, Pitt, and UCF, just to name a few there for Antoine Sharp. And let's take a look at a few of his plays now as well. Let me pull up his film here that West Virginia shared here on signing day. Let's take a look at a couple plays here of Antoine Sharp. Here he is here lined up on the edge for his high school team there. Palm Beach Central and West Palm. And look at that, man. Fighting through a block. Looked like I got a holding call and still made the sack. That's pretty impressive there for Antoine Sharp. Here he is again. This time you get a little bit of look of him coming after the quarterback there. And the quarterback tries to scramble out, and you see the athleticism setting the edge and making the tackle there for Antoine Sharp. Number 10 here on this highlight tape. Absolutely no match for that left tackle. Absolutely cooks that left tackle, sacks the quarterback there on that one. Let's take a look at one more. This time him lined up more of a traditional linebacker position and absolutely blows up a run play there by the opposing offense. So you love what you see there from Antoine Sharp, a linebacker that West Virginia adds in this class here as they continue to build this class of 2026. Here we talked about 45+ commits for West Virginia today, which is absolutely incredible. And we're going to go ahead and stick and move on to Aiden Woods here, who is a West Virginia athlete, an athlete that West Virginia brought in, rather, that is believed to play offensive line for the Mountaineers here moving forward as we talk about this 2026 class. And he, of course, is one that, if you guys remember when I talked about him in the commitment video, a guy that West Virginia flipped from North Carolina, got him to commit to the Mountaineers here in this class as we talk a little bit about Aiden Woods. Let me pull up his page here on the signing day tracker. And we see him listed as an offensive tackle, which is kind of what I believed he would be coming in. Listed as an athlete, but West Virginia recruited him to go along that offensive line. 6'5", 297, coming in from Abingdon High School there in Abingdon, Virginia. Not too far from where I am here in the bottom part of the state of West Virginia. But he's another 3-star prospect, according to ESPN Rivals and 247. Top 40 in the state of Virginia, and was rated number 114 among all tight ends by 247, as they rated him as a tight end at the time. Some people recruited him as a tight end. Some people believed he could move to the offensive line. West Virginia obviously filling more along the offensive line route, which seems to be correct as he's up near 300 pounds now. Number 38 prospect in Virginia and number 52 nationally as an athlete by Rivals. So you see the high ranking there by Rivals. And then, of course, ESPN, number 42 prospect in Virginia and number 176 among offensive linemen. Plenty of other power conference offers. West Virginia beats out UNC, VT, Syracuse, Wake Forest, just to name a few there. And now let's take a look at some standout plays here from Aiden Woods as he joins this class of 2026 here on signing day for the Mountaineers. And here you see him on that offensive line. Looks like he's at left guard here. Look at him pull across there. Vicious block there. Opening up the hole for his running back. Yet again, here he is. And you see the athleticism there. Look at him pulling. Back-to-back plays with him pulling, getting outside. This time getting up to the second level and getting a block on a safety or a corner there. Some type of defensive back and absolutely leveling him and breaking his running back free for a touchdown. So you know West Virginia loves that agility along the offensive line. Here he is again, this time in pass pro, setting it up for his quarterback to make a nice throw and get a first down for his high school team there in Abingdon, Virginia. And you see some highlights there from Aiden Woods. Of course, one of the offensive linemen that West Virginia added in this class, and we knew offensive line was a key area of concern for the Mountaineers here in this 2026 class. And, of course, us as fans knew that was something they would need to improve here for us to have success moving forward, as that was, of course, the weak spot of the offense here in 2026. And West Virginia certainly did that with some big names and then some hidden gems. And I would argue that this is one of those hidden gems here that we're going to talk about. And that is none other than Rhett Morris, listed as an offensive guard here for West Virginia. Let's pull up his page here before we take a look at some plays of his as well. So Rhett Morris, as we look at the signing day roster here for the Mountaineers, 6'2", 302-pounder, a freshman out of Don Bosco Prep in New Jersey, which is a very well-known high school. He's produced a lot of talented players, and he's over 300 pounds already here coming out of high school, which you love to see that size coming in. 3-star prospect according to ESPN 247 and Rivals. ESPN rates him as a top 30 player in the state of New Jersey and a top 102 offensive lineman nationally. So nearly a top 100 offensive lineman in the interior there according to ESPN. And then 247 has him as the number 39 prospect in New Jersey and the number 136 interior offensive lineman. Rivals, number 37 player in New Jersey, and the number 148 interior offensive lineman. So either way you spin it, across all three services, this is a top 150 interior offensive lineman that West Virginia picked up, beating out other power conference programs like Boston College, Pitt, VT, Wake, just to name a few there. And let's take a look at some plays here from Rhett Morris as we talk about West Virginia improving that offensive line. Here's another guy that's going to come in and try and help the Mountaineers do that. Let's take a look at a few plays here from Rhett Morris. I'm going to let this one play through, and I got to wet my whistle, guys. Not too far into this, but I've been talking a lot. So we'll let Rhett Morris's highlight film play while I wet my whistle. So you see him on the first play there, getting up to the second level. And then on the second play here, absolutely mauling a guy. Not only a pancake, but he knocks his damn helmet off. West Virginia got some vicious offensive linemen in this class. That's for sure. Here he is pulling there on a little gap scheme, picks up the block there, and then goes ahead and pancakes the guy at the end for good measure. I love the attitude of these offensive linemen that West Virginia brought in. Seems like some true hard-edge guys. Another pancake there from Rhett Morris as we round out his film here on National Signing Day as West Virginia picks up another talented offensive lineman there in Rhett Morris. Next up, let's flip over to the other side. We're going to talk a little bit about defense on this one, and we're going to talk about someone that can come off the edge for West Virginia in this 2026 class, and that is none other than Carter Kesler, Let's talk a little bit about Mr. Kesler here, a defensive end added to this class for West Virginia, 6'2", 250, coming in from Shelby High School in Shelby, Ohio. Take a look at some of his ratings here. He's a 3-star prospect according to ESPN 247 and Rivals, number 50 prospect in Ohio, and a top 100 edge rusher nationally according to 247. We go to ESPN, who rates him as a number 63 player in Ohio, and a top 130 defensive end nationally. Rivals, number 53 player in Ohio, and number 101 edge rusher nationally. Other offers include Memphis and Miami of Ohio. So maybe another hidden gem that West Virginia found, but I'll let you be the judge of it as we take a look at a few plays here from Carter Kesler as well as we continue to roll through this massive class that West Virginia picked up on National Signing Day. Let's take a look here at Carter Kesler. Here he is coming off the edge. See him lined up wide there, absolutely working the right tackle there of the opposing offense that he was going against. Here he is again, this time leveling. Look at the hit he delivered on that quarterback. Oh, man, that's what you like to see right there. Coming off the edge again. Looks like a blitz here on from his team. Read option, tried to run by the quarterback. He absolutely sticks the quarterback and brings it down. Here he is coming off the edge on the other side. Dealing with a double team, fights through the double team to deliver a quarterback hurry and a quarterback hit there as well. So you like what you see from Carter Kesler there on tape as well as we continue to talk about this massive 2025 recruiting class for WVU. And the next player that we have to talk about in it is one of the best players in the state of West Virginia. WVU keeping one of the best in-state recruits home, and he was a long-time commit, and West Virginia got him to sign on that dotted line today. And, of course, we're talking about Malachi Thompson from Nitro High School there in Nitro, West Virginia. 6'4", 192 pounds, great length, and good speed to go with the length that Malachi Thompson presents there coming from Nitro, West Virginia. Let's look at some of his ratings. 3-star prospect, according to ESPN, 247 and Rivals. ESPN has him as the number 211 receiver in the class and the number 3 player in the state of West Virginia. 247 has him as the number 309 wide receiver and the number 4 player in the state of West Virginia. And then lastly, Rivals, top 235 receiver and the number 3 player in the state of West Virginia. So either way you break it down, one of the top 4 players in the state of West Virginia, and West Virginia keeps him home as he stays here and will play in Morgantown, picking West Virginia over offers from multiple other programs, including Marshall, Ohio, Temple, Miami of Ohio, Akron, just to name a few there. And let's take a look at some plays here from Malachi Thompson. Of course, the level of competition is the only thing that you have to take into consideration when you watch the tape from a guy from the state of West Virginia, but even with that being said, I think he's so lengthy, so speedy, that it doesn't even matter. He's impressive on tape regardless. So let's take a look here at Malachi Thompson. Lined up on the outside, and there you see it. More speed, more size. Throw it up and let him get it. Here he is again. Look at this deep post route. And just absolutely, I mean, the camera's blurring. He's so fast, man. Malachi Thompson to the end zone there, which, funny enough, you'll be able to watch him in the state championship game this Saturday if you'd like, playing there at the 4A level against Princeton. Or is that AAA level? I think it's AAA level. But Princeton, where I'm at here in Mercer County, will take on Nitro in the state championship game. Excited to watch that, hoping Princeton can win it, even though I'm a Bluefield guy, which Bluefield's playing in the state championship as well. But I'm also excited because I get to watch Malachi Thompson play, who's going to be a receiver for the Mountaineers coming up across the near future, as a lot of these guys will be enrolling in January here in just about a month's time. As Rich Rod mentioned in his press conference, which he held just about a couple hours or so ago, 35 plus of these 45 commits are going to be here and going through spring ball, which is absolutely huge for West Virginia here as they continue to look ahead to 2026 and really build an impressive roster, in my opinion. And now we get to talk about one of the high-ranking players in this class, obviously the most high-ranked in this class. We've raved about him in the past, but now let's talk about him here on National Signing Day. As it is official, West Virginia brings in Kevin Brown, top 5 all-time recruit, highest rated offensive lineman recruit in school history, and West Virginia lands him. Flipping from Penn State, the 6'6", 280-pound offensive tackle. Chance to be a day one starter, in my opinion, from Harrisburg High School there in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And you look here, 4-star rating by ESPN, 247, and Rivals. So that's a consensus 4-star. Number 78 prospect in the entire class, according to ESPN, who also rated him as the number 13 offensive tackle and the number 3 player in the state of Pennsylvania. Then we go here to 247, who has him as the number 5 player in Pennsylvania, the number 14 offensive tackle in the country, and a top 120 player as well. Then Rivals actually had him as the number 3 player in Pennsylvania, the number 2 interior offensive lineman, and the number 122 player overall. So either way that you spin it, this is a top 125 player in the entire 2026 recruiting class that West Virginia just added. And, of course, we know his father was a 3-year starting offensive tackle for Rich Rod, but, of course, got injured, or it would have been a 4-year starting tackle for the Mountaineers there. This guy was offered by everyone in the country pretty much. We're talking Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Kentucky, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, Pitt, Syracuse, Tennessee, Wisconsin. And when you beat out blue bloods like Notre Dame, Georgia, Ohio State to get a recruit like Kevin Brown, that says enough right there. But if you haven't been impressed yet by his credentials, let's take a look at his film a little bit here as well. Look at Kevin Brown pulling across there. Absolutely leveling someone on a run play. Actually leveling 2 guys. 2 pancakes. 3 pancakes if you want to catch the one at the end there. Here he is this time, lined up in kind of a wing position there. Here he is there at right tackle, where I believe he will likely play at WVU. Look at the way he manhandled that guy coming across on the pull. Here he is in pass pro. How about a pancake in pass pro as well? And one more for violence sake. Let's go ahead and level this guy also as he opens up a hole for the run game. Can't say enough about Kevin Brown and how super excited I am that he is joining the Mountaineers here in this 2026 class. Super exciting pickup for West Virginia. Highest rated prospect in the class. One of the highest rated of all time for West Virginia, actually, if we're being honest, and a top 5 recruit in program history, to go along with being the highest rated offensive lineman that West Virginia has ever picked up as well. So from an offensive lineman, let's flip over to the other side. Let's talk about a defensive lineman that West Virginia added in this 2026 class as well, someone that's going to play defensive tackle. Let's talk Cam Mallory. Go ahead and pull his profile up here as we talk a little bit about these signings that West Virginia picked up. Apologies for my dog barking in the background there. If the mic's picking that up, I think the wife might have just got home from work. But Cam Mallory, 6 foot, 315-pound defensive tackle from Moody High School there in Moody, Alabama. And you love the size coming in immediately at 315. Take a look at some of his ratings. This is a 3-star prospect according to ESPN, 247, and Rivals. Number 23 player in Alabama. Number 64 defensive tackle in the country according to ESPN. And then 247 rates him as the number 37 player in Alabama and a number 103 defensive lineman nationally. Then Rivals, number 36 in Alabama, number 103 on the defensive line as well. So either way that you look at it, we're talking about a top 100 defensive lineman and one of the top 40 players in the state of Alabama, as West Virginia, 45 commits or 45 signings in this class across 20 plus states. So West Virginia was going all over the country here, and they pick up one of the best players in Alabama with Cam Mallory, who was offered by plenty of power conference programs: Boston College, Cincy, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Missouri, Vandy, just to name a few there for Cam Mallory. And let's take a look at some plays that stand out for Mr. Mallory as we take a look at his highlight tape here shared by WVU. There he is, eating it up in the middle. TFL for the big man in the middle there, Cam Mallory. Here he is again, lined up at D tackle. Head up on the center. It absolutely blasts by him and the right guard to get a quarterback sack. You love to see that. There he is fighting off a double team to still make a play in the run game. Absolutely dominating at the high school level, and that just gets you excited for his prospects at the collegiate level. As you see him there, blow up a run play and strip the ball, leading to a fumble for the opposing team there. And yet one more time, let's see him stuff the run yet again. You got to love Cam Mallory and the way that he looks there on tape here in this 2026 class for WVU. So let's stick here on the defensive side. Let's go ahead and check out our next commit here. Let's go to the secondary, though, this time. We're going to talk a little bit about Makhi Boone, who West Virginia added, and I think is one of the underrated commits that West Virginia brought in this class. I think there's several of those. It's a good mix of flipping really big name guys and bringing some hidden gems. In my opinion, Makhi Boone may be one of those hidden gems for West Virginia in this class. And as you see, your 6 foot, 171-pound corner from St. Edward's High School in Elyria, Ohio. Looking at his rankings here, a 3-star prospect according to ESPN, 247, and Rivals. ESPN listing him as the number 67 player in Ohio and the number 142 cornerback nationally. 247, top 60 player in Ohio and the number 118 cornerback nationally. And then Rivals has him as the number 61 player in Ohio and number 135 cornerback nationally. So either service that you look at there, you're talking about a top 140 corner in this 2026 class. Also was offered by Washington State, Colorado State, and North Texas, to name a few there, as we talk a little bit about Makhi Boone in this 2026 class here as we talk signing day. Let's take a look at some plays here, and you guys can see why I kind of feel like he's pretty undervalued and underrated. So here he is, press man coverage, and then comes in on corner blitz. Levels the quarterback there. Here he is here in pass coverage. Oh, look at the one-handed interception. There's some of the ball skills there, tipped by one of his teammates, and then he grabs it with one hand. And not only do you see the ball skills, but he goes ahead and runs it back as well. Pick 6 there for Makhi Boone. Here he is again. Absolutely reading that route and leveling the defensive back. You love the aggression. Press man coverage yet again here for Makhi Boone. And look at that. Press man coverage against a fade route, and it breaks up the pass. That's what you want to see from a cornerback. And if you watch his film, you'll see a lot of that. That's why I feel like Makhi Boone is an underrated commit for West Virginia in this class, as he is one of several defensive backs West Virginia added, which they needed to add in this class, if we're being honest. They're losing multiple here to graduation, so needed to go after defensive back heavy. They did just that. Makhi Boone, a good pickup there for West Virginia. Let's go back to the offensive side and talk about one of our first surprises of the day. There were multiple surprises here for West Virginia. One of those being Lawrence Autry, who was a Tulane commit. And if you heard Rich Rod in his signing day press conference talk about wanting to get back into Louisiana and feels like they have a good connection there to get in there as well. Lawrence Autry down south there from Mississippi himself. We'll talk about a couple of those guys that were surprises from Louisiana here in a minute. But Lawrence Autry was a surprise there because he was committed to Tulane, which made me think of the Louisiana connection. 5'10", 213. So, West Virginia adding multiple good-sized backs in this class, which I think is positive because we heard Rich Rod talk about all the backs they had this past year that were healthy were like 180 pounds or less. So you add Lawrence Autry at 5'10", 213 from Collierville High School there in Mississippi. And we look at some of his ratings here. He was a 3-star prospect according to 247 ESPN and Rivals. 247 has him as a top 134 running back and the number 71 player in the state of Tennessee. ESPN has him as a number 86 running back, so top 100 at the running back position and nearly top 40 in the state of Tennessee. And then Rivals also has him as a top 100 running back and nearly a top 40 player in the state of Tennessee, as he chooses West Virginia over other offers, as we talked about him being committed to Tulane in the past. But you look at his film here. We'll share a few plays here from it that West Virginia posted here on signing day. And what I really like about Lawrence Autry, this is a physical running back right here. Let's take a look at some plays here for Mr. Autry. And here you see him coming out of the backfield. Hey, that wheel route, look at the hurdle. Look at the hurdle there at 213, hurdling over someone. But that wheel route, as you know, of course, a key thing in Rich Rod's offense. We've seen that over the years. We saw it this year as well. One of the longest plays of the season was on a real wheel route. There he is outside zone, and despite his size, you see some of the speed there, able to get it in the end zone. I would take a look at Lawrence Autry here. Yet again, zone running play, gets to the second level, makes a man miss, stiff arms a man, and then uses the speed that he has to take it to the house. You like what you see there from Lawrence Autry, one of multiple running backs that West Virginia added in this class, although he was one of the more surprising additions here that West Virginia was able to pick up in this one. But from one surprise to another, and we're going to stick on the offensive side here because it's so funny, man. It was literally, I think, day before yesterday. I put out a recruiting update, which I had to put out, 2 or 3 over the past couple of days talking about guys in this class. But one of those that we talked about was Keon Hutchkins. And because we were really excited about him when he committed to West Virginia, because this is the number 1 junior college receiver in the country. But just, less than 48 hours ago, he decommitted from WVU. So we were wondering, he's probably not going to end up a Mountaineer. But, surprise, surprise, still signs with WVU on signing day. And this is a sub 4.3 guy. 4.2 type 40 guy that we're talking about here in Keon Hutchkins, who's also the number 1 junior college wide receiver in the country. West Virginia landing 2 of the top 5 junior college receivers in the country. Keon Hutchkins at 6 foot 180, comes in from Union High School in Union, Mississippi, is where he's originally from. But Northwest Mississippi Community College is the JUCO that he is coming from here. Take a look at some of his ratings here. 3-star JUCO prospect by 247 ESPN and Rivals. Number 19 prospect according to Rivals. Rated by most scouting services as one of the top 5 junior college receivers in the nation. Lists his 40 time as 4.2 as we talked about. Number 10 junior college prospect period by ESPN and top 20 JUCO prospect in the nation according to 247. Was also offered by Arkansas, Illinois, Missouri, Kansas State, Kentucky, just to name a few. And if you hadn't seen some of the speed in my previous video, take a look at it here for Keon Hutchkins. Lined up on the outside. And one thing I like to say when it comes to guys that have speed like this, whether it's the high school or JUCO level, when you watch their tape, you're probably going to see the streaks, screens, or posts. That's pretty much it. But that's all they need to run, when they're that much more athletic than some of their opponents. And on the first play, you see a streak. The second play here, you see a screen, and then get him out in the open field, let him use the speed. Look at the angle. The safety has an incredible angle, and he still outruns that and gets into the end zone. One more play here as his team's just on the cusp of the red zone. Here he is on the wide side of the field, a little pump and go. And you see some of the hands there as well. So not only the speed, but he does have some hands there. Gets his feet down in bounds, makes a catch also. Keon Hutchkins there, a key member of this 2026 recruiting class for WVU. As we flip back over to the defensive side here to talk about the next prospect, which is another defensive back that West Virginia brought in this class. And we're going to hit on Samaj Hill here in this one. So let's pull up his page here on the signing day roster. Talk a little bit about cornerback Samaj Hill for West Virginia. Another guy coming from a borderline state here in Pennsylvania. 6 foot, 173-pound corner from St. Joe's Prep there in Philadelphia. If we look at some of his ratings, 3-star ranking from ESPN 247 and Rivals. But 247 rates him as a top 50 player in Pennsylvania. The number 163 safety as well. Then we go to Rivals, who also ranks him as a top 50 player in Pennsylvania, but they had him as a corner at number 170. And then ESPN has him as a top 50 player in Pennsylvania and the number 150 cornerback. Multiple power conference offers, Syracuse, NC State, just to name a couple there for Samaj Hill. Take a look at some of his plays as well. I see him here lined up on the top of your screen here on this one. Defending a deep ball. Looks like a deep comeback there and makes a play on it. Not only breaking it up, but looks like he got the interception there. Here he is in the red zone, top of your screen, defending a fade route. Gets his hands up and breaks that thing up, which we love to see here for Samaj Hill. Here he is, press man coverage. His man gets an initial beat on him. But look at the closing speed and then the ability to recover there and break up the pass on the scramble drill as well. And then let's go ahead and get a nice little open field tackle from Mr. Hill as well to round out his highlight tape as we talk about Samaj Hill, another member of this 2026 WVU recruiting class there on the defensive side, which allows us to flip back over. Let's talk about the offense one more time, because we talked about West Virginia bringing in some of the top junior college players in the country in this class. And one of those that we talked about just recently, actually, Martavious Boswell, who is the number 2 junior college running back in the country that West Virginia brought in this class. Great speed, great athleticism. Really excited to see what he can do in a Rich Rod offense as Martavious Boswell comes in at 5'9", 175. He'll be a junior, so a couple years of eligibility left, coming in from Copiah Lincoln Community College, his original hometown there in Fort Worth, Texas. We look at some of his ratings here as he is rated a 3-star prospect by Rivals, who ranked him as the number 26 overall prospect in the junior college ranks, which is extremely impressive there. He was also offered by Mississippi State, Kansas State, just to name a few, for Martavious Boswell, and I think you're really going to like what you see from him as we take a look at some plays from one of the multiple running backs that West Virginia added in this class, and the highest rated out of the JUCO ranks and one of the top JUCO running backs in the nation. And guess what you're going to see here? You're going to see some speed from my guy, and you're going to see it here on an outside zone to start it out, which is great to see because he's going to be running that in this Rich Rod offense, and no one comes near him, completely untouched to the end zone. You love to see that. Here he is again. This time a little inside zone look, but he bounces that thing outside. So what I love about the first couple of plays that you see is plays that he's going to be running this scheme. And on the second one, outruns an angle to the end zone. And there you see the speed that I'm talking about there with Martavious Boswell. Couple of plays there, inside zone and outside zone, but both of those are important as we're talking about the Rich Rod offense here. He's going to be running both of those plays here in the future at WVU as we continue to talk about the players that are present here in this 2026 class for the Mountaineers. We're been shifting back from defense and offense. Let's go back to defense here, because next one that we want to talk about is Emery Snyder. Longtime commit for West Virginia, listed as nickel safety, so probably going to play that nickel position for the Mountaineers, but very versatile commit. 6'3", 200 pounds, played for one of the best teams in the entire state of Oklahoma there in Bixby, Oklahoma. And I really like what Emery Snyder brings to the table as we talk about his versatility here at WVU. Take a look at some of his ratings here. 3-star prospect according to ESPN 247 and Rivals. ESPN listed him as the number 121 safety, but a top 23 player in the state of Oklahoma. 247 ranks him as the number 44 safety and the number 8 player in the state of Oklahoma, so highly regarded there. And then Rivals also has him as a top 100 safety and the number 18 player in the state of Oklahoma for Emery Snyder, as West Virginia brings him in here into the fold in this signing day 2026. Take me home 2026, whatever you want to call it. Let's take a look at some plays here from Emery Snyder, who played corner, played safety in high school, and you can see that's why West Virginia can use him as potentially a nickel. Look at the closing speed here. Man beats him, then a scramble drill. Not only does he catch back up to the guy, but a one-handed interception from Emery Snyder as well. You love to see that going on there. Here he is again, lined up at corner. This time they're trying to attack him deep. And no says I. Goes up high points to football, which you love to see a corner make that type of play there that you see Emery Snyder make on that one. And how about a diving interception to boot as well? One more here from Emery Snyder. They try and attack him with the slant route, and there you see the physicality as he absolutely levels the opposing receiver there as he's trying to make the grab. So like what I see from Emery Snyder on tape, I think he could be a good fit for West Virginia at the nickel position, as that's someone where they'll have to break in a new starter as Fred Perry moves on, being a senior this past year for West Virginia. But we talked a little bit about one of the top junior college receivers in the country in Keon Hutchkins, but we also knew that West Virginia brought in another top 5 junior college receiver in the country in Kendrick Triplett, and he signed on the dotted line today as well. So not one, but 2 top 5 junior college receivers for West Virginia. And Kendrick Triplett, while not quite as fast, brings a little bit more length than Keon Hutchkins does, and West Virginia is going to use him in the slot. He's listed as a slot receiver here. on the signing day special, 5'11", 211. So great size there, 211. Redshirt sophomore, so we're talking 3 years of eligibility for Mr. Triplett, coming from Pearl River Community College there, his original hometown in Florence, Alabama. His 40 time listed at 4.35, so not quite as fast as the other JUCO receiver, Keon Hutchkins, but like I talked about, multiple 4.3 guys in this class for West Virginia. Here's another one that could play and factor into the rotation at the slot position for West Virginia in the upcoming season. 3-star prospect, 8th overall in JUCO, according to 247. ESPN had him in the top 50 of the junior college prospects at number 15 overall. And then a 3-star JUCO prospect, number 75 overall rating by Rivals. Long offer list here: Arkansas, Utah, Charlotte, Georgia State, Liberty, Marshall, Old Dominion, Nevada, South Alabama, Texas State, Troy, UTSA, just to name a few there, for Kendrick Triplett. Another hidden gem, in my personal opinion, here for West Virginia, coming in to play that slot receiver position. But let's take a look at a few of his plays here as I take another swig of my coffee here and wet my whistle as we continue through this long list of signings for West Virginia on National Signing Day. And right away, you see him there breaking out in the slot for a long touchdown. Here he is catching a screen out of the slot and using some of that 4.3 speed that we talked about to hit the sideline and take that thing to the house as well. So you like what you see from Kendrick Triplett on the couple of plays that we've seen thus far. Continue this on in the slot yet again. And this time going to attack downfield again. Bit of a slot fade. Makes the catch in between the corner and the safety. So you saw, great speed with a streak on the first one. Great athleticism with a screen on the second one. And then good hands there. That you see him make a catch in traffic on the third pickup there. So, Kendrick Triplett, one of the top junior college commits that West Virginia adds here in this class, which brings us to one of the higher rated high school additions that West Virginia brought in this class. And we're going to flip over to the defensive side to talk about defensive back Vincent Smith here. So Vincent Smith at corner, one of my personal favorite commits that West Virginia had throughout the season. Look at the length here at corner, 6'1", and he lists him at 223. My goodness, he's a monster. To go with the athleticism that he has there at 6'1", 223, that's impressive. Sandburg, Illinois High School there. His original hometown, though, is Orlando, Florida. Look at some of his ratings. 3-star prospect on ESPN 247 and Rivals, which I could have sworn he was a 4-star there. Let me pull this up because I think he's a 4-star on Rivals, if I'm not mistaken. Could have sworn he was. Or on 247, rather. Yeah, 247, I don't know why I list him as a 4-star here on 247 on the profile, because I'm looking at 247 now. They have him as a 90 graded 4-star top 10 player in the state of Illinois. So 247 technically rates him as a 4-star, but nonetheless, let's go through each service here. Number 14, best prospect in Illinois, and number 42, cornerback nationally, according to ESPN. Number 39, best cornerback and top 13 player in Illinois, according to 247. And then number 13, prospect in Illinois, and number 44 nationally at the cornerback position, according to Rivals. So all three services rate him as nearly a top 40 cornerback in the country, which is impressive. Slew of power conference offers: Kentucky, Purdue, Illinois, Iowa, Iowa State, USC, just to name a few there for Vincent Smith. And let's take a look at some plays from him here on National Signing Day as the Mountaineers share those as well. There he is, top of your screen there. Man coverage. Jumps the route and dives, make his diving interception. Pretty impressive. Can't quite see him here, but he's top of your screen yet again. Man coverage again. Look at that one. Guy had a step on him, and he still breaks up the pass there. That's that length. That's where that length comes into play that Vincent Smith has. Here he is on a blitz. Get to see him blitzing here. Look at him fighting through the offensive lineman, fighting off a block, getting to the quarterback, and getting a strip there. Nice little peanut punch from Vincent Smith there on that one. And then a pass break up there. as well to wrap it up for Vincent Smith. So you like what you see from Mr. Smith there on tape, who, like we said, highly regarded and has been kind of all along for West Virginia in this 2026 class. Someone that's been committed for a long time but signed on the dotted line here on National Signing Day. Let's flip back to the offense here as we continue to roll through this lengthy list of signees for West Virginia. Next, we're going to talk about Chris Talley, another one of those running backs that West Virginia brought in this class, and another one with speed. 5'11", 181 from Whitehaven High School there in Memphis, Tennessee. Look at some of his ratings. 3-star prospect according to ESPN, 247, and Rivals. Number 30 running back in the country and number 18 player in Tennessee according to ESPN. 247, number 63 running back in the country, and number 36 player in Tennessee. And then Rivals, number 14 player in Tennessee, and number 32 running back overall. So, top 30 running back in the nation according to ESPN and Rivals. 247, not as high on him, but still pretty highly regarded. Multiple power conference offers yet again. Arkansas, Cincinnati, Colorado, Georgia Tech, and Pitt that West Virginia beats out to land Chris Talley. And if you look at some of his plays here, you're going to see some of that speed on display. Let's take a look here. He's got his team pinned back here. Looks like about on the 4-yard line. Looks like got him hemmed up. He's able to fight through there and get into the open field. And when he gets in the open field, forget about it. That's a 96-yard touchdown run for Chris Talley, who's a guy that had highlight plays week after week playing in high school. And you're going to see some of those here on this tape. Here he is yet again. That's a counter play. We've seen West Virginia run that kind of delayed counter some this season. A little bit of a gap scheme here. And just look at him. And no one is touching him. He is absolutely head and shoulders above and faster than everyone that he's playing there in high school in Tennessee. You love to see it from Chris Talley, who is another talented running back that West Virginia brought in this class among multiple talented running backs that they brought in. And personally, I really love the speed that West Virginia brought in at the skill positions in this class. And we're going to continue to stick with talking about those skill positions as we talk about one of 3 quarterbacks that West Virginia brought in this class. This one, the one that had been committed to the Mountaineers the longest, in Jayden Hughley, who we know, of course, is the nephew, I believe, of former Mountaineer player and coach Snyder. But as Rich Rod talked about in his press conference following signing day, all 3 of the quarterbacks West Virginia brought in, yes, they can pass the ball, but they're elite runners. And Jayden Hughley, you're going to see a little bit of that because he certainly brings a lot of speed to the table. Coming to West Virginia from Florida at 6'2", 195 there. Cardinal Newman High School in Belgrade, Florida. Some of his ratings, 3-star prospect according to ESPN, 247 and Rivals. 247 rated him as the number 35 overall athlete in the country and a top 50 recruit in Florida. Rivals rated him as a top 30 quarterback nationally and the number 63 overall recruit in Florida. And then ESPN has him at number 36 at his position and number 86 in Florida. Also was a track and field star. Of course, talked about being the nephew of Snyder. But multiple power conference offers. Boston College, Florida State, Indiana, Minnesota, NC State, Penn State, Pitt, Syracuse, UCF, and VT. Just name a few that West Virginia beat out for Jayden Hughley. And if you haven't watched this film yet, you're going to like this. Take a look at some plays from one of the signal callers that West Virginia brought in. He really has some speed to his game. There you see, I don't know if that was quarterback draw or just him getting loose, but either way, look at that. I mean, no one is close, man. And that safety looked like he was standing still when he ran by him. There's a read option, which we're going to see. And actually not even the right read. The defensive end stayed home. And you see him put his foot in the ground and make the defensive end miss. That's just something you can't coach. That's athleticism, agility, and speed from Jayden Hughley there. And this time it is a design quarterback draw. And you see the speed, the ability to make somebody miss and get into the end zone. I can't wait to see what this guy does once he gets to Morgantown. Like Jayden Hughley a lot. I think he's one of the more underrated commits in the class because of what he can bring, explosiveness there to that quarterback position for West Virginia. As we talk a little bit about Jayden Hughley as one of the more underrated players on offense, and that leads me to perhaps one of the more underrated players on defense because when we look at his ratings here, they're not going to impress you that much, but man, when you watch this guy on tape, he really flies around. thought he was going to be a linebacker, but he's listed as a nickel/safety. So if he's going to play that nickel position, I think he's a great fit for it, actually, at WVU. And we're talking about Miles Catry, 6 foot, 208, from Pike Road High School there in Montgomery, Alabama. Look at some of his ratings. 3-star according to ESPN 247 and Rivals, but ESPN had him top 40 in Alabama and a top 80 linebacker nationally. 247 had him top 90 in Alabama and a top 175 linebacker. And then Rivals has him as the number 72 best recruit in Alabama and a top 150 linebacker nationally. And to me, this is West Virginia finding someone that really fits their scheme and can be really good for them, as he's going to play the nickel/safety position here at WVU. And when you look at his film, you'll see why I think he's a hidden gem here. Let's take a look at Miles Catry. And here he is here. Look at him. Look at him come in there. I mean, look at the aggressiveness. Look at that form tackle. I mean, that's wrapping up, twisting to the ground. That's literally textbook. Here he is this time setting the edge. Another excellent tackle. And that's what I love about this guy, man. A really formed tackler. Makes great plays in the open field. And I think that's why West Virginia sees him as a good fit at the nickel spot. I think he's, quick enough to play in coverage when he needs to. Can blitz the passer. Can shut down the run. I think he'd be a good fit at the nickel. As you see him one more time there shutting down the run. Here he is coming off the edge, similar to where he'll be at WVU. The quarterback trying to scramble out. Look at him coming all the way across the field for the sack/TFL on that one. So I really do like Miles Catry. I think he's super underrated in this class for West Virginia. And we're going to stick here on the defensive side to talk about the next signing for the Mountaineers. And this is one that we just talked about over the past couple of days, as West Virginia had that big JUCO haul. And this is one of the top junior college corners in the country that we're going to talk about here in this one, in Rayshawn Reynolds Jr., coming to West Virginia here from Hutchinson Community College, one of 2 defensive backs West Virginia got from Hutchinson Community College, as they landed a couple of really talented teammates from there. Both lengthy. That's what I love about what Rayshawn Reynolds brings. Most of these junior college defensive backs West Virginia brought in bring this type of frame. 6'3", 180-pound cornerback there, hometown originally Liberty, North Carolina. Look at some of his ratings here. 3-star, according to 247 Rivals and ESPN, but 247 has him as the number 15 JUCO cornerback. ESPN has him at number 36 and one of their top 50 junior college recruits in the country. Also was offered by Akron, Coastal Carolina, Georgia State, Texas State, and Troy. And let's take a look at some of his plays here for Rayshawn Reynolds Jr., which, funny enough, kind of reminds me of a guy you may know named Rasul Douglas when we look at some of this film here for Rayshawn Reynolds. There he is, top of your screen there, playing a little bit off, but creeping up here on this play. And he's going to defend a deep ball. And look at it. Go up and get it. High point that football, man. Gets an interception. Here he is lined up against a slot guy. Look at him following him in man coverage. The guy comes in motion, tries to run a wheel route, and you see the closing speed there from Rayshawn Reynolds to break that thing up there at the end of the day. Here he is again lined up against an outside receiver, this time to the wide side of the field. And look at him diagnose the run, fight through a block, and make a tackle. You like to see that as well. And then here he is on the goal line, providing a PBU as they try and attack with the slant route on Rayshawn Reynolds. You got to like what you see from Rayshawn Reynolds there at the cornerback position, coming from the JUCO ranks, potentially someone that can maybe play early for the Mountaineers. And we talked about surprises here on signing day. I don't have any film on this one, but nonetheless, still exciting because it's a position of need for West Virginia. We know Ollie Straw, longtime mainstay there at the punter position for the Mountaineers, coming from Australia. Those Australian punters are always pretty talented. So, hey, let's get another one. And that's exactly what West Virginia did. One of the surprises here on signing day is West Virginia bringing in Chase Ridley, who will be a freshman from Perth, Australia, of course, from Pro Kick Australia, where West Virginia's gotten multiple punters now, and 6'2", 233 is pretty good size for a punter there for Chase Ridley. Pro Kick has produced 85 All-Americans. He also played basketball there. He would be WVU's 3rd Australian punter. He can punt spiral or kick over end, rugby style. So really excited about this addition here. West Virginia needed a punter. They got one in Chase Ridley. who was the next one that we had to talk about there. Now we're going to go back and talk about another junior college edition, and this is one of the top junior college offensive linemen in the nation. We talked about him recently when we talked about Rayshawn Reynolds and those other junior college prospects West Virginia picked up, but Deshaun Woods is someone that I think could come in and potentially contribute immediately for West Virginia. So let's take a look at his profile here. Mr. Woods coming to West Virginia from Butler Community College, a well-known junior college program there. At 6'5", 291, he'll be a redshirt junior. A couple years of eligibility remaining. And if we look at some of his ratings here, let's see. 3-star prospect by 247, 4-star recruit and number 1 recruit in the state, according to the Under Armour All-American game there. That was coming out of high school, where he was the number 1 recruit in the state. So number 3 among junior college inside offensive linemen and top 10 player in the state of Nebraska, according to 247. Then Rivals, yet again, top 3 junior college prospect in Nebraska and a top 15 offensive lineman. So very, very highly regarded. Multiple offers: Washington State, North Texas, Middle Tennessee, Kennesaw State, Tulsa, Troy, just to name a few there for Deshaun Woods. But he commits to the Mountaineers. Take a look at some plays here of Deshaun Woods. Look at him here at right tackle. Executes a double team, chips a man, and then gets to the second level, pancakes a guy, and springs his running back free. Here he is again at right tackle. This time going straight to the second level, matched up with a linebacker, which is absolutely no match for him. Mauls him down to the ground. Another pancake there for Deshaun Woods. Then here he is again, getting up to that second level. And look at the way he opened that hole for his running back to break free for a touchdown run. This one a little bit further out, but this is him in pass pro, and you see him yet again getting a pancake there in pass protection as well. So you like what you see there from Deshaun Woods, the West Virginia offensive lineman in 2026, one of the top JUCO offensive linemen that West Virginia added here in this class. And from offense, let's flip back over to defense. You know, we talked about some more recent commits here with some of these junior college guys that we've talked about, but how about a guy that's been committed for a long time for West Virginia? And that's none other than Cam Bam Bam Dwyer. They call him Bam Bam because he can deliver some hits there at the linebacker spot. And we've seen that on tape, and we've talked about him in the past. So Cameron Dwyer signs on the dotted line today. 6 foot, 195-pound linebacker. Yet again, Palm Beach Central High School, his original hometown from Delray Beach, Florida. 3-star prospect according to ESPN 247 and Rivals. ESPN has him as the number 77 in his position, number 129 overall in Florida. 247 ranks him at number 111 nationally in his position, 134 overall in Florida. And then Rivals as the number 120 linebacker in the country and top 150 in Florida. So either service you look at, that's top 150 player in the state of Florida. And we know Florida produces some really good football players. He was also offered by Spitt, Wake Forest, East Carolina, Florida Atlantic, Liberty, JMU, and USF, just to name a few there. For Cam Dwyer, which when I pull up his highlights here, you'll see why they call him Bam Bam Dwyer. Take a look at some plays here from Cameron Dwyer. There you see him lined up at the linebacker position, coming downhill. TFL of about 5+ yards, pretty much hitting the running back as soon as he takes the handoff there. How about him getting an interception and pass coverage there also? You like to see that, as we had multiple West Virginia linebackers this year get interceptions. You'd like to see Cam Dwyer continue that. Another TFL from him as he chases down a run from the backside. Then here he is lined up kind of in the Mike linebacker position. Oh my goodness. Textbook tackle there on the quarterback to get a sack there for Cam Dwyer. Another defensive recruit West Virginia added in this class. And we're going to stay on that side of the football for the next few here. And we're going to go back and talk about some more of those junior college prospects that were recently highlighted for West Virginia. Next up, we're going to go to the safety spot here and talk a little bit about Demare Williams, a junior college safety that West Virginia just recently had commit before he signed today on signing day. So let's talk a little bit about Demare Williams here. 6'1", 201, He'll be a redshirt sophomore, so multiple years of eligibility remaining from Coffeyville Community College there at the JUCO ranks. And we look at some of his ratings here. 3-star according to ESPN 247 and Rivals, but 247 had him as the number 5 safety in JUCO, top 50 overall in JUCO. Rivals had him as the number 8 safety and number 65 overall, and ESPN had him number 50 on their JUCO top 50 list. So top 50 in junior college by all 3 services, and a top 10 safety in the nation as well. Had more than 15 offers. Houston, Kentucky, Mississippi State, UCF, just to name a few there that were after Demare Williams before he signed on that dotted line with the Mountaineers. Let's take a look at some plays here from Demare Williams as well. There you see him at that safety spot, jumping the route and taking that thing to the house. Right there, Demare Williams' first play of his highlight tape, a pick 6 for the newest West Virginia safety coming from the JUCO ranks. This time, he sees a flat route, diagnoses it, comes downhill, makes a hit, allows essentially no gain, maybe even a TFL on that one, which is impressive coming from the safety position. Here he is defending on the goal line, not only covering his man, but getting an interception there on the goal line as well. So just a couple interceptions we've seen from Demare Williams. This time they try and run a jet sweep on him, and you see a little bit of the speed and athleticism as he's able to set that edge and deny that jet sweep for no gain as well. So you like what you see from Demare Williams coming from the junior college ranks, but he's not the only one coming from the junior college ranks there in that defensive backfield. We talked about these guys here recently, and just I think it was yesterday or day before when we did a video on those junior college prospects. I want to say that was yesterday. And Damon Allen is another one that signed with the Mountaineers here on National Signing Day. As we take a look, he is from Hutchinson Community College as well. So this is the teammate of Rayshawn Reynolds that we talked about, and both of them lengthy, 6'3", 190. His original hometown is Sanford, Florida. We look at some of his ratings here. 3-star according to ESPN 247 and Rivals. ESPN has him in the top 50 of the junior college ranks as well, number 29 there, and had him as the number 3 corner in all of JUCO. 247 had him as the number 4 corner in all of JUCO, and Rivals had him as the number 3 corner. So top 4 cornerback in JUCO right here that we're talking about. And Damon Allen, of course, his teammate Rayshawn Reynolds also signed with West Virginia today. 28 offers, which is a lot coming from a JUCO prospect there. West Virginia breeds out multiple teams to land Damon Allen. Let's take a look at some of the highlights shared by the WVU Sports page on Damon Allen today as well. Here we see him at corner. Interception right off the bat there, and a great one at that. Here comes the quarterback hurry from Damon Allen, so you can see him come in on a blitz, force an incompletion from the opponent there also. And now we're going to see a pass breakup as he's in press man and sticks his man all the way down the field. Great pass breakup there. Stride for stride with this guy. That's what you want to see. This time he's given a little bit of leeway, and even with that, still comes up and blows up the tunnel screen that the opponent was trying to run on him for essentially no gain. Here he is coming again. How about another TFL there? Can't run those flat routes on Damon Allen. He's all over him. As you see there on his highlight tape, another talented defensive back that West Virginia adds from the junior college ranks. And we're going to stick here on the defensive side, but this time we're going to move down a couple of levels and talk about a defensive lineman that West Virginia picked up in this class in Camden Gillespie, better known as KJ Gillespie. Let's pull up Mr. Gillespie's page here, and then we'll take a look at some plays from him as well. So KJ Gillespie, 6'2", 242 defensive end, a freshman from Mooresville, North Carolina, pretty close to my brother's hometown in Statesville, North Carolina, where I spent the early years of my life as well. Very familiar with Mooresville, North Carolina. 3-star prospect according to ESPN 247 and Rivals. Number 23 player in North Carolina, number 82 on the defensive line according to ESPN. Top 35 player in the state of North Carolina, and number 88 as an edge rusher. Number 36 in North Carolina, and number 103 at the defensive end, according to 247. He also pitches and plays outfield for their baseball team. So we're talking about a multi-sport athlete here. Chose West Virginia over offers from VT, Georgia Tech, Boston College, Kentucky, and Vandy, just to name a few there for KJ Gillespie. And let's take a look at some of his plays here as West Virginia adds another defensive end into the mix here in this extremely large 2026 recruiting class. And we'll see some plays of him coming off the edge here, matched up against the left tackle, who he absolutely bull rushes to get to the quarterback and get a sack here on the first play that we check out. Yet again, same side, matched up with the left tackle again. And this time, how about an interception for him off of a tipped pass? As he kind of dropped in coverage, maybe a quarterback spy there for KJ Gillespie on that one. Other side of the field this time, matched up with the right tackle. Yet again, look at the bull rush and the ability to shed and get another sack. You like what you see there from KJ Gillespie. And then that time, just absolutely dominating the left tackle for a TFL in the run game. You like that dominance from KJ Gillespie at his defensive end spot there at the high school ranks. We got to hope that that continues here in the college as well. So let's flip back over to the offensive side here. Let's go to a tight end that West Virginia brought in this class. And actually, this was the earliest commit West Virginia had. He stuck with the Mountaineer, signs with them on signing day. So long time commit for West Virginia in Sam Hamilton. Sticks with the Mountaineers today on signing day. 6'2", 235 currently. Archbishop Moeller High School there in Loveland, Ohio. We look at some of his ratings. 3-star according to 247 Rivals and ESPN. Number 43 player in Ohio according to ESPN, but number 19 at his position according to ESPN. Number 57 player in Ohio, according to 247. Number 62 in Ohio, and top 80 tight end, according to Rivals. Also offered by Houston, Kentucky, Georgia Tech, Duke, and Washington, just to name a few there, that offered Sam Hamilton. Let's take a look at some plays of one of the new West Virginia tight ends here in this class. There you see him lined up attached. Going out and making a nice block in the run game, or in the screen game, rather, I should say. Lined up attached here yet again. This time, absolutely clearing a hole for the run game. We'd love to see that. We know our tight ends need to be blockers here at WVU. This time, his team backed up. He's lined up attached. And how about a pancake on a run play for the tight end, Sam Hamilton? But let's see him split out in the slot. We know West Virginia's tight ends need to do that. And he splits out in the slot and blocks for a great screen there. That's a nice pickup for one of his receivers on the outside. So you see him doing multiple things he'll have to do here at WVU. Line up attached, lined up in the slot. As we know, West Virginia is versatile with their tight end. So Sam Hamilton looks like he can do that for the Mountaineers here as he signs with WVU here on National Signing Day. Flip it back over. Let's talk defense again as West Virginia brings in a long-time committed safety as well in Ricky Giles. Let's talk a little bit about Ricky Giles here. 5'10", 185-pound freshman, South Oak Cliff High School there in Oak Cliff, Texas. So another commit out of Texas for West Virginia. 3-star prospect according to 247, ESPN, and Rivals. Multiple power conference offers, though. Utah, Purdue, just to name a couple there that West Virginia beat out to get Ricky Giles. And let's take a look at some of his highlight plays here that the Mountaineers shared on his National Signing Day profile. There you see him lined up in the slot here. And look at him attacking that out route with a hit that absolutely levels the receiver and forces the incompletion. You like that physicality there from Ricky Giles. And then how about there, going up and high, pointing the ball for an interception and then taking it back the other way for a touchdown as well. You love to see that from Ricky Giles also. And then here we are. Take a look again. This time they're trying to attack him on a deep ball. Look at the closing speed right there. That's Carl Joseph-esque. That reminds me of the Carl Joseph hit on the Oklahoma receiver where he came all the way across the field to force the incompletion. Not comparing him to Carl Joseph, but that hit was very reminiscent of that hit coming all the way across the field to force a pass breakup. You love to see that from Ricky Giles. Next up, another one that I feel like is pretty underrated in this class for West Virginia. And something that we heard Rich Rod talk about, one of the big flips and one of the big surprises for West Virginia came with the commitment of Matt Sieg. But we also need to talk about Noah Tischendorf, who was another player that West Virginia said, or at least that Rich Rod said today in his press conference, could play both ways. He's listed as a bandit here on the West Virginia site, but I'm going to pull up his 247 profile here to look at his ratings, because for some reason when we try and pull his up, it does not want to pull up his page. It says page not found. Interesting. But 247 rated him as a top 5 player in the state of Oregon that West Virginia picked up and a top 100 edge rusher nationally. But the reason that I bring up playing both ways, 6'3", 240, and Rich Rod said today in his press conference that he feels like Noah Tischendorf is the guy that's not only going to play the bandit position, be an edge rusher, but could also be a tight end fullback on offense, and they're expecting that from him. As a few players in this class, West Virginia is looking to play both ways in 2026. Noah Tischendorf is one of those, and let's take a look at some of his plays here. A good edge rusher that West Virginia brings in here in Noah Tischendorf from the state of Oregon, bringing in a West Coast guy here. See him getting in the backfield, chasing the play down from the backside there, wearing number 9. Here he is again, top of your screen, absolutely devouring the offensive lineman ahead of him for an easy sack. This time lined up in the interior. They try and run a jet sweep. He bull rushes his man and blows up that play. And then yet again, here he is on the outside, dominating a left tackle for an opposing offense that leads to a turnover for his team nearly there as he broke up the pass right there at the line of scrimmage. And how about one more time, not only dominating a left tackle, but fighting through a chip from the running back as well. So battling a double team. I really like Noah Tischendorf a lot. I think he's one of the more underrated prospects West Virginia brought in this class. And then how about one that wasn't previously committed? You can consider this one another surprise if you like, that West Virginia added yet again at the bandit position. And this time we're going to talk about Jeremiah Johnson. Another flip for the Mountaineers, 6'2", 243-pounder, another JUCO guy, Butte Community College. He's originally a native of Spanish Springs, Nevada, but we look at some of his ratings here. 247, had him as a 3-star prospect, with number 13 edge rusher in JUCO and number 20 player in the state of Nevada. Had offers from Central Michigan, Sam Houston, UTSA, but of course chooses the Mountaineers. Let's take a look at some plays here from Jeremiah Johnson. Another edge rusher. See him matched up with a left tackle there as well. And you see him a little bit more of a rip move there, swim move if you want to call it, to get by the defender, use the speed on the outside, then cut inside. What you see there, yet again, his speed is apparently, really tough to defend. He's able to use that and then get inside some defenders. And there you see him use that speed to chase down a play from the backside here at the bandit position. And then a bull rush as well. Not only speed, but let me show you a little bit of power as he uses a bull rush to force an incompletion against his opponent. And then a little bit of ways to set the edge and blow up a run play there as well for Jeremiah Johnson. Which brings us back to talking about some more skill position players. And this is one that I did a video on when he first committed. I guess that's been about a couple of months ago or so now. Started to wonder if he was going to still stick with the Mountaineers because he did have some other West Coast teams going after him. I think he visited Utah. I think he visited UCLA. But I really like Wyatt Brown a lot. From California, West Virginia brings in another quarterback. Like I said, 3 in this class. All of them pretty talented runners. Wyatt Brown fits that mold as well. 6'3", 197-pounder from Notre Dame Sherman Oaks High School in Santa Monica, California. Highly sought after, 3-star rating from 247, ESPN and Rivals. ESPN rated him as the number 24 dual-threat quarterback in the country and a top 115 player in California. Rivals had him as the number 85 quarterback nationally and the 107th player in California. And then 247, 131st quarterback and 206th player in California. So, nearly a top 100 quarterback and one of the top players in California by each of the 3 services. Like we talked about, multiple power conference offers, Arkansas, Cal, UCF, UCLA, and Utah, to name a few that were after Wyatt Brown, which if you've watched the video on his original commitment, you've probably seen some of these highlights, but if you haven't, you're going to enjoy them. So let's take a look at some plays here from Wyatt Walker Brown. He's on play action, a little bootleg, and he is a lefty. And look at this. Look at the wheels, guys. Outran linebackers at angles, and then a safety that had a big angle, and he still got by him for a long touchdown run. I love the running ability from Wyatt Brown and his kind of elusiveness. He's got that quick twitch. Look at that. Throw on the run and still hits his man in stride downfield. This time play action again. Drops back in the pocket, getting pressured. Look at the elusiveness. Look at the pocket presence. He just made, 4 guys miss, reversed out, spun out, ran the opposite way, and got into the end zone. That's what I'm talking about with Wyatt Brown. And that's what I'm talking about with these quarterbacks that West Virginia brought in. They're all pretty much elite runners. And you see another one there in Wyatt Brown that West Virginia brought in here. 2 of the 3 quarterbacks that they brought in this class we've now talked about, so 1 more left to talk about on that side. And we have another tight end to talk about. As we talk about West Virginia bringing in multiple of those, let's go ahead and talk about the next one, and that's Cade Bush. Not Kate Bush, the singer of the song from, you may know from Stranger Things, the Running Up That Hill. This is Cade with a D, Bush here. A talented tight end joining West Virginia's 2026 class here on signing day. Great size, 6'4", 220, but not the biggest tight end West Virginia brought in. We'll talk about him momentarily. But the second tight end that we'll talk about here on this one is Cade Bush from Minnesota, Chanhassen High School there. Some of his ratings: 3-star prospect according to ESPN 247 and Rivals, earned a top 5 ranking in Minnesota and number 38 nationally among tight ends according to ESPN. 247 has him as the number 9 best prospect in Minnesota and a top 80 tight end nationally. And then Rivals has him as the number 6 best recruit in Minnesota and a top 70 tight end nationally. Multiple power conference offers: Arkansas, Iowa State, Kansas State, just to name a few. But you look there, across all 3 services, he's a top 10 player in the state of Minnesota that West Virginia adds here in Cade Bush. But, if those ratings don't do enough for you, how about some plays for one of the newest West Virginia tight ends? Let's take a look here. This time, here he is lined up, split out, makes a catch, and makes a man miss. And you see a little bit of the athleticism for a tight end. Look at a little bit of wheels for a tight end. Here he is on the slot, and they run a screen to him. Breaks 1, breaks 2, breaks 3, breaks 4. 4 tackles and gets the first down. Look, they didn't even put him in the backfield. That's how you know this is a very athletic tight end in Cade Bush. They don't lined up almost in a split back formation there. This time you see him line up attached, a little stick route, and a tough contested catch. Not only does he make that, but makes a couple guys miss and fights for the first down yet again. Let's see a little bit of blocking there, and there we see him taking out a run defender there for a pancake on a run play as well. I like Cade Bush. We talked about the tight ends West Virginia brought in this class. Let's go ahead and talk about the next one as well. I said Cade Bush wasn't the biggest because that honor belongs to none other than Xavier Anderson. And if that name sounds familiar, that's probably because his brother's already on the roster. Also from Spring Mills High School, came in this past class as a quarterback, as a true freshman. Now West Virginia is able to flip his brother, who was previously committed to Cincinnati at the tight end spot. And this guy is a monster size-wise when we're talking about Xavier Anderson. 6'6", 202. And still room to grow. Obviously, he's coming in as a freshman, so we're talking about a guy that could be 6'7", 6'8", before it's all said and done at the tight end position. That'll work. From Martinsburg, West Virginia, Spring Mills High School is Xavier Anderson. We talked about his older brother, Max, 2-sport athlete at Spring Mills, just completed his true freshman season at WVU as a quarterback. But Xavier was committed to Cincinnati. Another flip here for West Virginia, another surprise on signing day. 3-star prospect according to ESPN 247 and Rivals. ESPN has him as the number 70 tight end and the number 5 player in the state of West Virginia. 247 has him as the number 110 tight end and the number 3 player in West Virginia. And then Rivals has him as the number 96 tight end and number 3 player in the state of Virginia. So between Anderson here and the past Malachi Thompson that we talked about, that's 2 of the top 5 players in the state of West Virginia that WVU brought in here on signing day. Like we talked about, flipped from Cincinnati, so definitely picked West Virginia over them. Also VT and Liberty, just to name some schools that were after Xavier Anderson. Which let's pull up here and take a look at some plays here from one of the newest West Virginia tight ends here as he played at Spring Mills High School in West Virginia. There you see him lined up at a receiver spot. He's kind of a receiver in a tight end's body in high school. I mean, when he's that big and that athletic, he was a huge mismatch, and Spring Mills used him as such. You see him lined up wide there on the first one, catching a deep ball. Here he is lined up wide on this one, delivering a couple of blocks to spring the quarterback free on a read option play. So not only does he use his size to catch the football, he can use his size to block you as well. And how about some highlights of him playing defense? Maybe this is another one that could be a two two-way guy. We know Rich Rod and company were after multiple of those. We talked about Noah Tischendorf. Maybe Xavier Anderson's another guy that can play offense and defense, as that's something that Rich Rod and company have looked for in this 2026 class, and maybe Xavier Anderson's another one that could do just that. Let's stick on offense here. Let's talk about a receiver, and it's one we just recently talked about, one of the more recent commits for West Virginia, one of the later commits here as we approach signing day, and that's none other than Landon Drum. As we pull up his page here, 6'2", 190 pounds, so great combination of size and speed for the 6'2", 190-pounder. But how about his hometown? Alaska. Anchorage, Alaska is the original hometown. Got to be one of the first Alaskans to play for WVU, as far as I know. Look at some of his ratings. 3-star prospect, according to 247. Top 16 prospect in Colorado. Top 101st best athlete in the country, according to 247. Number 13 in Colorado, and the number 28th wide receiver nationally. Other offers, Cal Poly, Montana State, Northern Colorado, and San Diego. But, of course, signs with the Mountaineers. And we'll take a look at some of his plays here, and I think you'll find that he's another one that's probably a bit underrated with his combination of size and speed. Top of the screen here. Dig route, makes the catch on that dig route, makes a man miss, hurdles a man, and gets the first down. You see the athleticism there. Make a man miss and hurdle a guy. Then you see a fade route, and you see the hands there. That's ball skills. He pretty much caught that over the defender's back and then lined up here a little bit tighter. You see the speed a little bit there on the deep post route as he catches that one in between a corner and a safety. Another good look at the ball skills. And how about one more time just to show the burners? Straight go ball. Go ahead and give it to him. Landon Drum makes the grab there. One of the newest West Virginia receivers they just brought in here on National Signing Day, which leads us to, if you guys saw the thumbnail, to me, there are 3 massive pickups for West Virginia in this class thus far. One of them we already knew about, in Kevin Brown, and we've already talked about him. The 2 others were surprises and huge pickups for West Virginia. And this right here is one of them that we're going to talk about. And as another guy that's going to play both ways is what is believed here for West Virginia, as Rich Rod talked about, and it was also talked about in his 247 write-up on his commitment, which, funny enough, it's so crazy because, he was set to announce today on CBS Sports. They had the graphic of, who he's going to be choosing between, and it was like VT, Pitt, Penn State, Notre Dame, and somebody else. There was like 5 teams on there, none of which were West Virginia. Man makes his commitment announcement and picks WVU. How about that? We thought we were out of the running of one of the top players in the country, but no says I. West Virginia gets in the mix late last night and flips Matt Sieg. Hail to the yeah. Huge pickup for West Virginia. 6', 180 athlete from Fort Cherry High School there in McDonald, Pennsylvania. Look at this. First player in WPIAL history there in Pennsylvania to register 5,000 yards rushing and 3,000 yards passing for his career. First player in WPIAL history to rush for 1,000 yards and pass for 1,000 yards in 3 straight years. So really impressive stuff that he did there. Was being recruited by a safety, as a safety by most places, and West Virginia thinks he can be a dominant safety, but we think he can play offense too, as Rich Rod talked about today. 4-star prospect consensus across all 3 services, ESPN, 247, and Rivals. ESPN, top 300 player, number 5 player in Pennsylvania, number 14 safety. Number 3 player in Pennsylvania, number 11 safety in the nation, and nearly a top 100 player in the entire class, guys, according to 247. And then Rivals rating him pretty similarly. Number 6 in Pennsylvania, number 17 safety in the nation, and number 184 overall. Look at the offer list. Bama, Penn State, Indiana, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan State, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Pitt, Purdue, Rutgers, Stanford, Syracuse, USC, Vandy, Virginia Tech, Wisconsin. But where does he end up? With the Mountaineers, where it's believed he's going to play both ways. And just for a little bit more on that before I show you some of his highlight plays, this was a screenshot I took from the 247 article earlier. He says the coaches have a big plan for me. I'm going to be able to play both sides of the ball. It's close to home. My family will be able to come see me and come to all the games. It's a pretty big thing for me. And this is what we're talking about with how West Virginia got in the mix late. Sieg was clear with how quickly things developed when the Mountaineers came back into play. I'm going to be honest, not until about 5 p.m. Tuesday night. So from 5 p.m. Tuesday night, in the next 24 hours, West Virginia was able to lock down Matt Sieg and get him to commit, which was no small feat. One of the top players in the entire 2026 class, and West Virginia lands him. Massive get for West Virginia. Take a look at some plays here from a very talented athlete. Here you see him at safety there, number 3, reading the quarterback's eyes and absolutely delivering the blow on the receiver. Look at that hit from Matt Sieg. Here he is at receiver. So you're going to see a little bit of his action on both sides and a little bit of his athleticism. Look at the vertical. Goes up and gets it over the corner. Look at that, man. Oh, man, Matt Sieg is a guy. He is a dog. Jet sweep. Cuts inside of the tackle. Good blocks downfield, makes a man miss, makes another man miss. See ya. He's going to take this thing to the house. Oh, I'm going to make one more man miss for good measure. So there you see what we're talking about with Matt Sieg, man. A couple of plays on offense, one where he high points the football, another one where he takes off on the run, and he's going to be a guy that plays both offense and defense for WVU. It can do either one at an extremely high level, and we're super excited about that. But he wasn't the only surprise. Like we talked about, there were a couple of surprises for West Virginia, multiple surprises, I guess I should say, for West Virginia. And earlier I started talking a little bit about the Louisiana connection. And now's where we can highlight and hone in on that. With Greg Wilfred first, who's going to be a slot receiver for West Virginia. And this is one of the big surprises because it's another guy, never visited WVU, hadn't talked about WVU, and then all of a sudden on signing day, flips and signs with WVU. And Greg Wilford's another 4.3 40 guy. We talked about multiple of those in this class. This is another one that not only is going to play slot receiver, but I think he's got a good chance to be a return man for West Virginia as well. We'll see if that pans out. 5'9", 166. Edna Carr High School, one of 2 commits West Virginia got from there. The other one, really exciting as well, as we talk about that Louisiana connection that Rich Rod said that he wanted to get back into. Did it here with these guys on signing day and hopes that will continue moving forward. And Greg Wilford is one of those guys that open that up if it does indeed happen. 3-star prospect according to ESPN 247 and Rivals. Rated top 50 in Louisiana by ESPN, top 60 in Louisiana by 247, and top 55 in Louisiana according to Rivals. Also was offered by UCF, UTSA, Arkansas State, Memphis, and Troy, to name a few. And take a look at some plays here from this speedster, who's going to be a slot receiver for the Mountaineers and possibly a return man in the future as well. There he is lined up in the slot. They're in high school in Louisiana. Oh, look at that move. Wide open in the middle of the field. Catches the ball and takes the hit from the safety. Holds on to it for the touchdown. And here's what I'm talking about with his return abilities. This is on a punt return. Makes a man miss, gets to the sideline, and just forget about it, dude. And that's great vision, too, for a punt returner as well. Right there, fielding punts, no easy task. Here's a guy that can do it. Slot receiver again. Slant route, nobody stands a chance. Easy money, Greg Wilford to the end zone. Another speedy receiver West Virginia added. Another surprise guy that West Virginia added, late and kind of unexpectedly. But as I talked about, he's not the only one from that Louisiana connection and not the only one from Edna Carr High School. We've talked about 2 quarterbacks West Virginia added. Let's talk about the third, and that is John Hollywood Johnson. A lot of places were recruiting him to play other positions. West Virginia said, we'll give you a shot at quarterback. Does that sound familiar? 6 foot, 180-pounder. If you know, you know. Of course, we're talking about arguably the greatest quarterback in school history that had a similar story and was a similar size as well, coming in at 6 foot 180. But John Hollywood Johnson III from Edna Carr High School in New Orleans, Louisiana, is an elite runner at the quarterback position. And I think you guys are going to like what you see on tape from him as well. I think he's won 25 straight games as Edna Carr's starting quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, was the stat that I heard earlier. 3-star ranking by ESPN 247 and Rivals. Top 40 in Louisiana and number 34 dual threat quarterback in the country, according to ESPN. Top 30 in Louisiana and number 56 athlete in the nation, according to 247. And then number 35 ranking in Louisiana and number 70 among quarterbacks, according to Rivals. And yet again, similar to his teammate, someone didn't visit West Virginia, We didn't know if, they were going to be in the mix, and then all of a sudden, on signing day, boom, let's go down to Louisiana. Let's get a couple of speedsters, one at receiver, one at quarterback. Let's shore up our skill positions, and Hollywood Johnson is one of those that they do it with. He was also offered by Washington State, Nebraska, Liberty, and Troy, to name a few. Take a look at some highlights of Hollywood Johnson. Another quarterback, the third of 3 quarterbacks that West Virginia brought in this 2026 class. And look at the first play. A little zone read action, and look at that. Now, does that look like a play you'd see him running a Rich Rod offense or what? And no one is catching that man once he hits the sideline, gets an open field. Yet again, on the read option, and you can see why West Virginia wanted this guy. Does this look like a Rich Rod quarterback or what? The first 2 plays we see are both read options and both him keeping them and breaking them for a touchdown. And how about a power read here, inverted veer, whatever you want to call it, midline option, where he reads kind of an inside defender and takes it up the middle for a long touchdown run. So Hollywood Johnson, man, is someone I'm excited about because I think he has a lot of potential, another hidden gem, and he's a quarterback that, a lot of teams probably wouldn't have given a shot there, but West Virginia certainly will, and it could be an explosive one there for the Mountaineers. Let's stick on the offensive side and talk about a man that I just put out a video on late last night, actually, as he was, kind of a late commit for West Virginia, but a massive one. We talked about Kevin Brown coming in on that offensive line. Obviously an instant starter, highest rated offensive line recruit in school history, but West Virginia brought in multiple talented offensive linemen in this class, and another one that's extremely highly rated, and Jonas Mua. And I think between Jonas Mua and Kevin Brown, you could have your 2 starting tackles for the future of WVU. So let's take a look here at Jonas Mua, who is a massive human being at 6'7", 292, from Fort Wayne, Indiana, Bishop Luers High School there. We talked about his rankings recently. 3-star, according to 247 and Rivals. 247 has him as a top 40 offensive tackle and the number 5 player in the state of Indiana. Rivals also has him as a top 40 tackle, but the number 7 player in the state of Indiana. Multiple power conference offers: Cincinnati, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Purdue, and Tennessee. And if you see some plays here, you'll see this guy's an absolute mauler. And what's even more impressive is he's only been playing football for a couple of years. This was a long-time basketball player that just recently converted to football. So extremely high ceiling, extremely raw, but the potential is through the roof on Jonas Mua. Take a look here. He's lined up at guard. Absolutely just overpowering. I mean, it's just mauling a guy. This time here he is at tackle. Get a look at kind of more the position that he'll be playing at the collegiate level. Clearing the hole. Pushed his guy about 10, 15 yards. And then here he is getting up to the second level. And forget about it. A linebacker doesn't stand a chance against him. And you see the quick feet, the way that he can move. That's that basketball background. That's that agility. That's what's going to make him a good tackle at the collegiate level, in my opinion. And that's why he's going to be able to pull on gap scheme plays like he does there to spring his running back for a long touchdown run, as I'm really excited about Jonas Mua on the West Virginia offensive line. 3 more to talk about, guys. We ran through 42 players already. Let's get to the final 3. Couple of which are flips for West Virginia, one of which we talked about on our most recent recruiting update video, that he would be choosing between West Virginia and Michigan State today. West Virginia beats out the Big Ten program, adds another defensive lineman and defensive tackle, Yendor Mack, who we are going to talk about here. And then we'll round it out with a couple of talented skill position players. 6'2", 244 defensive tackle. He'll be a freshman from Susquehanna Township High School there in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. 3-star prospect according to ESPN 247 and Rivals. ESPN has him as a top 150 defensive lineman, number 58 player in the state of Pennsylvania. 247 has him as the number 234 defensive lineman and the number 69 player in the state of Pennsylvania. And then Rivals has him as the 218 defensive lineman and the number 68 player in the state of Pennsylvania. Final 2 was West Virginia, Michigan State. West Virginia beats out Michigan State, Buffalo, Coastal Carolina, among others. And let's take a look at some plays of Yendor Mack here. Final player we're going to talk about on the defensive side before we wrap up with a couple of running backs here to round out signing day for the Mountaineers. Here is Yendor Mack. You see him there lined up head over the center, fights through the center and a guard to make a play on the first play, and then just absolutely overpowers the guard there to get in the backfield and force an incompletion. You see great, I mean, he's only 244. He has great strength for that size. He can really develop into something throughout his time here. Another hidden gem, in my opinion, as he blows up another run play for a TFL there. Here he is lined up head over the center again and absolutely blows through him to force another. Well, that time he nearly forced a turnover, not just an incompletion, which we like to see there from Yinder Mack. Which brings us to another guy that's on the thumbnail of this video. We've hit Kevin Brown, who was on the thumbnail. We've hit Matt Sieg, who was on the thumbnail, an extremely impressive flip. Now we get to talk about one of my favorite signings in the class, and this is one that I've teased you guys about. I think it was about a week ago when I put out a recruiting update, and I talked about Amari Latimer, who was at the time Wisconsin's highest rated commit in their class and a 4-star, 90-plus graded running back on 247 that I was really hoping West Virginia would be able to flip. And guess what, guys? It took us a while. This one didn't come until about 4:30, 5 o'clock today, but West Virginia indeed was able to flip Amari Latimer. We'll look at his profile here in a second, but I did want to pull this up, the tweet that I shared showcasing his 247 profile, just in case you guys haven't seen my video on him in the past. 5'11", 230. There's your big back for next season right there. There's your short yardage problem solved. But not only is he a big back, he's got great speed to go with that size, man. This guy could be an every down back. This could be a guy that competes for playing time right away. 91 grade on the 247 composite, top 20 running back, and a 4-star commit that West Virginia flips from Wisconsin and beats out some other programs to get. I'm super, super excited that we're able to land Amari Latimer. If you guys saw me tweeting about signing that earlier, from the very beginning this morning, I said I had my fingers crossed for Amari Latimer, and apparently I had him crossed just right because West Virginia ends up flipping Wisconsin's highest rated commit in this class and landing Amari Latimer. 6 foot 228 is what he's listed out here on West Virginia signing day roster. Sandy Creek High School there out of Fairburn, Georgia. All-time leading rusher for Sandy Creek. 5,332 yards is what this man has racked up in his collegiate career. Also ran for 7 touchdowns in one game before, 287 yards in one game before, and is a candidate for Georgia Gatorade Player of the Year. We look at some of his ratings here. 4-star prospect consensus from 247, ESPN, and Rivals. 247 has him as a top 20 running back in the nation and a top 34 player in the state of Georgia. ESPN has him as a top 20 running back in the nation and the number 38 player in the state of Georgia. And Rivals has him as the number 19 running back in the nation and the number 32 player in the state of Georgia. So consensus, not only is he a 4-star, he's a top 20 running back in the nation in this class and a top 40 player in the state of Georgia, which produces really good football players. 47 offers. Look at some of these schools: Arizona, Arkansas, Auburn, Cal, Cincy, Colorado, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Indiana, Louisville, Miami, Michigan, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Pitt, Purdue, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Texas A&M. I mean, look at those names. And, of course, Wisconsin was who he was committed to originally. West Virginia beats them out. But everyone who's anyone in college football wanted Amari Latimer, and West Virginia lands him. Let's take a look at some plays here from Amari Latimer. Here he is in the backfield. Remember, this is Georgia. This is tough competition. And look at this big back, man. Stiff arm. And then there you see, that's what I'm talking about. He got those long strides for his size. Not only does he have size, but he's got enough speed to break big ones as well. Amari Latimer is going to be fun to watch, even at the collegiate level. And you got to like as well that he's got that Ashton Genty stance, just standing straight up in the backfield like Michael Myers back there ready to attack you and just murder the defense. And you see another long touchdown run there from Amari Latimer. I love the Ashton Genty stance, man. That gets me even more excited about Amari Latimer. Huge pickup for West Virginia, one of my top 3, top 4, top 5 in this class, probably top 3 in my opinion. Amari Latimer, a huge get for West Virginia. But West Virginia wasn't done at the running back spot. We were wondering when a guy that we had committed earlier, we've talked about in the past, if he would end up signing with WVU because we'd been waiting, and then it ends up happening. And, of course, it's a guy that unfortunately we know dealt with an ACL injury, as we talked about in the past this year. But nonetheless, I think he'll bounce back in a big way. And that's because he brings speed and quick twitch ability. There's a reason they call him Jesus in cleats, right? And that's Sir Paul Cheeks, another running back that signed with West Virginia. The 45th signing for West Virginia, who may not be done yet. We'll see what happens. But as we talked about, 35 plus of these guys that we talked about are all going to be here next month and be here for spring practice. And Sir Paul Cheeks, another great one at the skill position, another speedy running back. 5'7", 176 from Varina High School there in Richmond, Virginia. We look here. Another guy that can maybe be a return man as well. We'll have to see how he recovers from his ACL injury to see if he'll be able to contribute in year one or if we'll need some more time. But whenever he's able to contribute, he's going to be a factor. 3-star rating from ESPN 247 and Rivals. Number 21st best player in Virginia and a top 50 running back according to ESPN. Number 14 player in Virginia and a top 30 running back according to 247, and a top 20 player in Virginia and number 43 running back according to Rivals. Chose West Virginia over Kentucky, Minnesota, Pitt, VT, and Wake Forest, just to name a few. And you've probably seen some of his highlights in the past on the channel if you've been following the recruiting along here. But if you haven't, let's take a look here. Sir Paul Cheeks, some plays of his as we round out the prospects to talk about here. And what I like about this, is you see him lined up, split out on this one. So West Virginia, can not only use him at running back, but maybe they'll play him in the slot some as well. And we know West Virginia does split their running backs out to the receiver position at times. And he's got that Ashton Genty stance as well. How about the Mountaineers bringing in two really good running backs with that Ashton Genty stance in the backfield? There you see a little bit of the speed as he gets into the end zone pretty easily there on that one. Here he is lined up in the slot again. And you see great ball skills, especially for a running back. That's what I like about Sir Paul Cheeks. West Virginia brought in multiple running backs in this class, but he's probably the one with the best ball skills that could not only play running back, but maybe play the slot receiver position as well. So there you have it, guys. The 45 names for West Virginia in this impressive 2026 recruiting class that may go down as one of the best ever in WVU school history and is one of the best in the Big 12 Conference as well. Super impressive. We'll pull that up one more time for those of you guys that may have popped in late. I just see the Big 12 recruiting ranks here. West Virginia, number 3 in the Big 12, right behind the two teams that are playing for the Big 12 title this year. So that's got to mean something moving forward, right? That West Virginia is right there with some of the top teams in the conference for sure. And just to see where they rank nationally one more time before we wrap this up, and I will get to some of y'all's comments. I did say we got a super chat that popped in there. I definitely got to get to that one for sure. But we have number 23 class in the country, according to Rivals, and then 247 has it at number 25. So we're talking about a top 25 recruiting class. And funny enough, this is the best West Virginia football recruiting class since when? Since the last time Rich Rod was here. His final recruiting class is the best one since then for West Virginia, but this is got to be the largest number of recruits that West Virginia's ever signed here with 45 coming in today. So I knew that would take a while with so many commits, but wanted to highlight each of them and give you guys a true signing day recap. So appreciate you guys sticking with me for this nearly 2-hour stream. And of course, this will be up on the audio side on the podcast platforms as well. Be sure to give us a follow there if you don't already. Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast there. Just search Country Roads Webcast. Check us out there. Leave us a rating. That helps out on that side of things. Those of you that watch this on Facebook or Twitch, be sure to come over to the Country Roads Webcast YouTube channel and subscribe here as well, so that way you get access to our pre-recorded videos and podcast episodes. And those of you that did watch on YouTube, whether you watch live or on a playback, hit that thumbs up button. Help us out with that crazy YouTube algorithm as we continue to try and grow the CRW community throughout Mountaineer Nation. With that being said, let me get to some of y'all's comments in the chat here. Did have a super chat roll in here, so we definitely got to start with my guy, Big Dan T, sending in a $20 super chat. Really appreciate that, Big Dan T. Also a loyal channel member here, which we really appreciate our channel members helping keep this mic recorded, keep that camera rolling. And in addition to that, they get a ton of bonus content like behind-the-scenes stuff, monthly hangouts, film reviews, game rewatch commentaries, player grades, snap counts, just to name a few there. So if you're able to, hit that join button down in the video description on the YouTube channel homepage. Help us help you get a ton of WVU sports content here. And Big Dan T says, give a subscribe and like to the CRW to keep this great content coming. Appreciate that, Big Dan T. Yeah, definitely. We really appreciate that. That really does help pay the bills here. And as I always like to say, helps keep my mic recorded and keep my camera rolling. And of course, as you all know, after the first of the year, there's going to be even more content coming from the CRW as I embark on doing this full time. But really appreciate you guys. See some other channel members in here as well. My guy, Earth Ether, excited for the show. Let's go. Appreciate you, Earth Ether. He says, Rich Rod hot piss meter is off the charts. He looked happy in his presser. Good things are coming, Mountaineers. Good things are coming. Very well said. He was definitely smiling like the butcher's dog there in the press conference for sure. I think we went out this year, his first full recruiting class at WVU, and we got some really damn good players. And I'm super excited about that. And let's not forget, guys, portal opens in January. We're going to add another 12 to 15 more players, and we'll keep you guys up to date on that as well. So stick with us here. This roster's not done by any means, and we're going to update you every step of the way leading into that 2026 season. My guy, Devil Dog, another channel member here, appreciate you, says, let's go. Hey, let's go, Mountaineers, Devil Dog. Trey Edwards, another member here. Let's go. Let's go, Mountaineers, Trey. Love it, man. WVU Mountain there with Kenny in the house. Everyone hit the thumbs up button. Appreciate that, Kenny. Let's see. Trey Edwards asked, who else is on the radar? The Burner Boy said we still got a few who's looking to flip. Off the top of my head, the main one that I can think of is Legend Bay. Which you guys know I've been covering Legend Bay for 6 months now. I would be surprised since West Virginia already got 3 quarterbacks, but West Virginia is offering him the opportunity to play quarterback, which Ohio State and Tennessee aren't. That's another 4.3 40 guy. I think he postponed his decision until December 5th, so maybe that's one West Virginia's looking at. Off the top of my head, that's all I can think of right now, Trey. But I did hear Rich Rod say, they may get another couple over the next couple of days. This, signing day continues for the next couple of days, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's see. Thank you. Are we all caught up here? Let's see if we got any other comments, any other super chats, any other comments from channel members here. Oh, but we do got a comment from Vextex here, which is great. And this is one thing I pointed out when I initially talked about Amari Latimer maybe flipping to West Virginia, was that our way in to that was Rich Rod knowing the family, because Gerard Latimer played DB at Jack State before transferring to Wisconsin, and I think that could have been our way in. As Rich Rod talked about knowing the family today, as Vertex says, his brother plays cornerback at Wisconsin, who played at Jack State with Rod, may be coming to Motown when the portal opens. Could be that times 2 that we were talking about there, right? We get Amari Latimer at running back, we get G. Latimer there at the defensive back. That would be big. That would be a big pickup as well. That's one to keep an eye on, certainly when the portal opens, and we'll kind of try and keep you guys up to date on portal targets for West Virginia as we approach that transfer portal opening in January, and that's the only portal window we have this year. Don't have to worry about losing guys after spring anymore. Only the January portal window, which will make it easier to cover here as well. Let's see. Devil Dog says we have Robert Sands type of length and talent with some of these DBs. Yeah, I think that you can definitely see the priority in this class was size and speed, and West Virginia hit on both of those in big bad ways, man. They got size and they got speed, especially in that defensive backfield, which you love to see for sure. Scott asked, does anyone know where Chris Henry Jr. signed? Unless it happened while I was doing the stream, from what I understand, he has yet to sign officially. I know he did his commitment ceremony earlier, and he said he was sticking with Ohio State, but never signed a national letter of intent or whatever they sign now. I don't think it's national letter of intent anymore, mainly because of the Brian Hartline situation. He was hired as the head coach of USF, so that may lead Chris Henry Jr. going elsewhere, maybe Oregon, maybe USC. I know a lot of people like to hold out hope. I don't think it's going to happen. I give it about a 10% chance for WVU. I think Oregon and USC are more likely at this point, but hey, stranger things have happened, and I'll get on here and go crazy if it does happen. But wherever he goes, I do wish Chris Henry Jr. success, man, for sure. That guy deserves it. His dad was a legend, gone too soon, and I hope Chris Henry Jr. has a great college career wherever he ends up. Let's see. I see somebody asking about Kevin Brown. That must have been from earlier in the show, probably before we got to him. Miles Cattry, yes, I really do think he's underrated. I see someone else talking about him. Let's see. I think we're all caught up here, maybe here. Hey, my guy Joey Foster's in the chat. I haven't seen you in a while. Joey, good to see you, brother. He says, I'm so proud of my Mountaineers. With classes like this, I'm actually live to see WVU win a national championship. Hey, don't get me choked up talking like that now, Joey. But we know that's Rich Rod's goal. He said it, from when he was very first hired, and bringing in classes like this and putting forth the effort that they are. You got to think that they're swinging for the fences. But let's get the Big 12 title in the bag first. We haven't made a Big 12 conference championship appearance. He gets us there. He's doing something. But I think with this class he's brought in, he's got the foundation to do something in the future for sure, Joey. And I'm really excited about the future now. 100%. Let's see. I know I'm behind here in the comments for sure. See if we got any others we want to hit on here. Devil Dog 44 says, can't wait to hear the Pat McAfee and Rich Rod interview. Pat McAfee's going to be live. Oh, that's going to be good. I guess he might be on there tomorrow, I'm guessing maybe. I know Pat McAfee kind of spilled the beans on Amari Latimer a little bit earlier today, which was funny. I also heard, in addition to Rich Rod's press conference that we were talking about earlier, he was on Sirius XM today with EJ Manuel and Jacob Hester, talking a little bit about the class, said some good things to say on there. I got a chance to listen to that just before I hopped on the stream here. So, multiple ways to check out a recap of this class from Rich Rod, and hopefully we get another one on the Pat McAfee show for sure, Devil Dog. That'll be a lot of fun. Let's see here. Mike Hutchins says, good stuff on the recruiting this year. Completely agree, man. Maybe the best class in WVU football school history. Certainly the largest and debatable on if it's the best. It's my favorite. It's my favorite, personally, for sure. I think there's some really good players in here. What's up, Silas? Good to see you in here, man. Hadn't seen you in a while. Got my guy Chad Atkins in here as well, stating very interesting pickups and excited about the linebacker and defensive line pickups. As am I, Chad. But there you have it, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in and chiming in. If you get a chance to chat live, throw some of your thoughts in the comments on any one of these prospects, the 2026 class, who you'd like to see West Virginia target in the portal when it opens, anything you got there. Really appreciate those interactions. We continue to try and grow the CRW community throughout Mountaineer Nation. With that being said, the WVU basketball team's on right now. I'm going to get off here, try and watch the end of that game. I know you guys are probably trying to check that out as well. So let's get off here, watch WVU basketball pick up a win as West Virginia football picked up multiple W's today on the recruiting trail. What an incredible signing day for West Virginia, picking up some all-time prospects and just having a hell of a day here on National Signing Day, which may not be finished yet. And if West Virginia adds any more signings, I'll come back up on here with another WVU football recruiting update. But for now, there's your signing day recap for 2026. 45 commits for West Virginia, or 45 signings, I guess I should say at this point, with at least 35 of those enrolling next month and going to be here for spring football practice, which is huge. One of the top classes in the Big 12, a top 25 class in the country. Can't say enough, guys. Let's go, man. Let's go. Excited about this 2026 roster already. Know you all are as well. Be back to talk to you guys again shortly. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. As always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.